Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel and Kerbal Space Program 2. So, last time I didn't know how to do a lot of stuff in Kerbal Space Program, and today I can't promise that it'll be any different. But we managed to get into space. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get back from space, and I think that should be our first priority this time around. I'm going to make sure that you can see everything in game while I'm because I think last time I had like my face in kind of like in the corner and things like that. In fact, when I get back in, I'll try and address where that is. And but yeah, I think today we should just jump back in and see how much science we can collect and see how far we can progress along that little progression tree. And I don't think anything can go wrong. So let's jump into the game. So here we are. It looks like I've launched. It looks like I've set the rocket upside down, but I don't see any problems with this. Let's just launch it anyway and see what happens. Minor problems on the launch pad, but we learned that we can revert flights last time, so we can go back to the VAB and make sure we put it in the right way up. Now, I did do some routing around. It turns out that when it said, when we were wanting to what am I doing? We had to use a scientist to analyse the temperature on the thermometer, and Jebediah is a pilot and not a scientist. So what we're going to do is take a different Kerbal with us. So in this case, Bob Kerman is a scientist, Bill's an engineer, and then Jebediah and Valentina are both pilots. So we're going to swap Jebediah out temporarily for Bob the scientist, and he'll go up and we'll head into space that way. We haven't changed much otherwise, so let's go back to the launch pad. I also did spot in the previous episode what SAS stood for. I found out online the nickname of it is the sickness avoidance system, but it's something to do with the stability assistance system or something like that, and it means that we can stay stable. It'll try and follow the direction that we've put it on instead of flopping all over the place. And also last time when we tried to come back into the planet, we burned up way too quickly and then hit the ground way too fast. So I'm not going to use all of the fuel in the rocket while we're ascending. In fact, I might even turn the throttle down, and we'll just go up at a steady pace, and then we'll use some of that fuel to slow us down on the way back in, and hopefully that will help us out a little bit. So we can already see that this little blue line with the AP that stands for apoapsis, the highest point we're going to go, is a little bit smaller than it was, because now we're going up slower, but we're going through fuel much less as well. So I think all in all this is a good thing. Yeah, the apoapsis is nice and high. Space in Kerbal Space Program begins at about, I think it's 70,000 meters, and so we just need to get the apoapsis above that so that we can confirm we've been into space, and then I think we'll be happy. We're a little bit over halfway through our fuel now. Nothing looks like it's exploding. I think we might be able to. Bob seems happy down in this corner, and the apoapsis is going to probably hop up above 70 any second now. So once it does that, I'm going to hit X on the keyboard and it will stop. It will cut the throttle. Yeah, look, there we go. So we're going to get to about 73,000 meters. So now everything's nice and quiet because we've turned off the engine. We're still rocketing upwards towards space. We're following this trajectory, this blue line, and we're going to slow down as soon as we get as high as we can go, because we've been putting loads of vertical speed into our rocket, but then once that vertical speed runs out, we'll go up and then we'll come to almost complete halt, and then we'll start speeding up as we come back down again. So at the moment we are Does it say what altitude right now? Yes, we're at 55,000 meters, so we're heading up there pretty quick. We've only got a little bit of fuel left, so hopefully it'll slow us down enough for what we need before we deploy the parachutes. I wonder, shall we get Bob out there now? Hopefully the air won't yank him off of the rocket. Let's do that. Oh look, yeah, he's here. We're happy. It's very quiet up here in space, which, I mean, there's no air, so there's no sound, so it does make a fair bit of sense. Bob's dead chuffed that he's been allowed to come up on this mission. I guess Jebediah has been asked to go on all of the main piloting missions so far. Oh, we've got music. So let's see if Bob can operate the temperature. Oh, he can. Let's keep that experiment. Now, because I think we haven't gone as high into space, we're going to start coming down before long. If we look here, yeah, we're nearly at the highest point. We're going to start coming back down very quickly. I don't know how loud that is for you, but it feels pretty loud for me, so I might just hop out of the game briefly and turn the volume down. Just one moment. Let's get into the crew hatch first. Here we go. I'm just going to turn down the... yeah. Hopefully that's not too loud for you. So yeah, we're on the way down. We can see that our... oh, and it's gone awfully quiet again because we've gone below 70,000 metres. So I guess music comes on when we're in space. Bob seems happy. I think it would be a good idea to turn off the SAS, the stability assistance. And... or maybe that's a terrible idea. I feel like we should be pointing straight down. And we can use that by looking at the nav board. We can move around until... I think the yellow might be the direction we're moving, so we might be moving a little to the left of straight down. But let's keep it at that speed. I don't think we should go too much faster. We could try and slow ourselves down, slowly but surely. I'm going to use the tiniest amount of throttle and see if that means that we'll slow down. Our speed is still increasing a lot, so maybe we should. Oh yeah, okay. I've increased the throttle a little bit, and now our speed is actually decreasing. But we don't want to use up all our fuel. While we're here, we'll deploy the chute early. Nothing can go wrong with that. If we deploy the chute early, where there's no air. We are definitely, the fuel's going down. Maybe, I don't know if it's better to kind of eke out the fuel now as we descend, or to leave it turned off and then have a big blast of rocket thrust at the end. Who knows? We'll find out. Well, it's definitely picking up speed now. We're going at 630 meters per second, thereabouts. As we accelerate towards the ground, we do not want a repeat of what happened last time. Jebediah is, I'm assuming... Oh, oops-a-daisy. Jebediah is currently... I'm gonna start slowing us down, you know. I feel like that's a good idea. Oh, and the parachute has opened up, which sounds useful. We're slowing down to a much more respectable speed of about 200 meters per second. In fact, I'm gonna turn down the thrust even more to just the tiniest amount and see if we continue to slow down. Oh. In fact, I don't even know if I should turn off the... For some reason, we seem to be intent on flying in sideways, and I'm not sure if that's exactly what we want to do. But the parachute is opened. The parachute has opened now, and so we seem to finally be travelling at a respect. We got into space, guys. We heard the music, and now we're descending at a peaceful 10 meters a second, and so we can't possibly cause any problems. In fact, we're going down so slowly that I could technically even speed up time just a little bit for us to get to the ground without sitting here and drumming our fingers. We can see the shadow, and I guess where the shadow and the rocket meet is where we're going to hit the ground. So let's try and do it then. I've put time back to normal. In fact, let's have a burst of speed. Slow us right down. Oh. Only a minor explosion, but Bob seems happy. We've still got part of the ship. In fact, let's send Bob out on an EVA. You're right, Bob. Let's climb off. Let's let go. Ugh. Bob managed to push the rocket then. Bob can push the rocket. Bob is strong. Until he gets as far as that fin. I wonder, can we roll it the other way? Yeah, we can. Bob knows what he's doing. Bob benches weights, doesn't he? Bob, let's take another surface sample. Let's get as much science as possible. We only get a little bit. We only get 2.3, and I think it's because if we take the same surface sample from the same place over and over again, we start losing science. It's like do the same experiment. I think that's pushing us to kind of go higher and further and see how far we can go. But all in all, that was successful. We got into space. We came back down. Our scientist is okay. Bob is going to have to go back and check up on Jebediah because he had a pretty big impact when we last left him. Let's go back to the tracking station and end that mission, and we'll see how much. Ooh, that's loud. Right, Bob. Let's recover that. I might even go back in and. Can we end any of the rest of these? Yeah, we can. We can recover a few of these. Done. And we can recover that as well. Done. And we're back at the main menu. I'm just going to see if I can turn down some of the audio settings in here because it's very loud to me. I don't know if it's loud to you. I suppose I'll only find out when I go back and have a look at the video that I'm making. But that's a bit easier. We can see the flag that I planted over there, and we can see the first flag that we planted just over there. Let's go to our research and development. We've got 37. That's a very nice unrounded number. We've got is 37 a prime number? Maybe it is. Can't be divisible by anything. 37.4. So we could add some stability. We could add things like nose cones and winglets, or we could add some more drag chutes and things like that. I think that sounds like a good idea. Oh, these are heat shields and landing struts and service bays. Or we could go advanced rocketry or general construction. There's so many we can do. A crew cabin sounds like a mighty fine idea. It means we can actually bring more Kerbals along as we go. Some fuselage, flags, decouplers, adapters. Where do we want to go? I feel like starting with stability is probably a good idea. It doesn't cost us much. And actually, we've got enough left to do that and the survivability level as well. So what should our next aim be? Our next aim, I think, we can get into space. I feel like we got there. Staying up there is the next plan, because when you go into space, the gravity of the planet is always going to try and pull you straight back down. And so I'm wondering if we can use a rocket to travel to somewhere else on the planet and take a surface sample over there. Let's start from scratch. Let's go new, and we'll get our command pod, and we'll bring a few Kerbals with us. Where did we get the crew quarters yet? I don't think we did. But we've got a few different kind of engines now. Some big rocket. Oh, we need to try these. Look how big that solid rocket booster is. Okay, well we'll see how far we can go. We've got a few different stability things now. Landing struts might be useful in order to help us land again. Do you know what? I've got an idea, and we'll see if it comes to fruition. We've got a load of science modules now. I think we're going to go on a science expedition. I think we're going to go to somewhere else on the planet, try and land like we did a minute ago, and do some science. That sounds like a really sensible thing to do. So we'll start off with our command pod. I think we can still only bring one person along, so let's make sure that it's while Jebediah is resting. Let's make sure that Bob, our scientist, can come along. Now, I'm thinking we break this ship up into a couple of stages. We'll have kind of a landing stage, which doesn't need to be very big, because when the big one landed, it was so big and heavy that the bottom of it blew up when it touched down. And so I'm thinking we could just make a small one. We'll get a little fuel tank like this, and we'll attach a tiny engine to it. I don't know which one of these is bigger. That one looks quite big. That one looks about... That one looks like a slightly smaller. We don't need it to be huge, is what I'm thinking. And now what we need next is a decoupler. So when something's coupled, it means it's joined together. We need a decoupler to separate the different parts of the rocket. So there's a few of these. We've already got one here. We can attach that there and it'll cover the bottom stage of the rocket, and it means that anything we put underneath we can separate at this point. So let's add another few big fuel tanks, and we'll use these fuel tanks to get into the sky, maybe even into space, and we'll try and land somewhere else. And we'll put another one of those engines on. Let's put this one on. I don't know exactly what the difference is. It does say mass 1.25 or 1.5. Turns out the swivel, the T-45, is slightly bigger. Ah well, who knows what we're doing. I like the idea of us putting fins on again to keep things stable, and I know that we can press X to add more symmetry to it. So in fact we want to have it all snapping as well. See, all that looks sensible. And what we can do is we can add a bunch of science experiments to the side of the top lander. In fact, what we'll do, we'll add some struts for it to eventually land on. Let's do that. Let's put those there, and then everywhere else. That sounds sensible. Everywhere else, we'll add little science experiments. We'll take a temperature reading, and we'll take a mystery goo containment unit. We're gonna have to learn what that is. Let's put 2 of those on. That seems like a sensible idea. One on either side, because I imagine otherwise it might knock it over. We saw what happened if we had a rocket just on one side of the ship yesterday and it span out of control. So let's put a temperature thing on one side, a pressure barometer. So I guess that's measuring air pressure, and that'll all go on the kind of the sciencey bit up at the top, and then this will shoot us into the air. And let's call this our science rocket. I'm really inventive with ship names. Feel free on the Twitch stream or wherever you're watching this, try and let me know what better names we can call these ships. Let's save that and let's launch. Now then, we're just entering the long silence of the loading screens, the long awkward silences. Okay, so this looks like a fairly sensible rocket. We can press buttons and make the lander come out. That's nice and useful. Tell you what, let's just take off. I didn't count down last time, and I very much should have done. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And we've got... Oh, we're not taking off very quickly, and I have just realised I've forgotten to add a parachute to the top of this little rocket. We're not even going up very quickly, and we're still burning through fuel, which might be trouble. Before we were... Well, I suppose, you know, we're going up fast enough, respectful enough. Now we want to go somewhere. Let's tilt the rocket over. Oh, it's not really letting us. It's because we probably don't have those special fins that can change the direction we're going in. Oh, in fact, even looking at this, the engine that we're using doesn't have a gimbal on it, and a gimbal will change the direction of and we're out of fuel. Okay, so I can see some minor problems. And our apoapsis doesn't even get us to space. But we can demonstrate the use of our decoupler. So now that bit's going to swing around and fly away. And now look, we're in this... I tell you what, let's do this. Let's point ourselves over there. And let's fly this way. Let's not use all of our fuel in one go. But let's use this to change the direction. Look, now it's saying that our trajectory is going to go way over here to the west. And we're going to get as high as about 35,000 meters. We're going to get nowhere near space, but we are going to fly sideways. In fact, I'm going to turn off the engine and we'll let ourselves soar through the air. We haven't even gone so fast as to end up burning up in the atmosphere. What I can imagine though is we'll need to use the engines to slow ourselves down. So I'll point the engine in the direction that we want to go. In fact, some of these buttons make us be able to do that automatically. We're going to have to learn what words prograde and retrograde and things like that mean. But at the moment, I'll point us so that the engine is pointing in the direction we're going, so that when I turn the engine on, take a look at the speed down here, and it slows us down when I have the engine turned on. So we'll make sure to do that. And look here, we're at the highest point. We're at the apoapsis, the highest point of our trajectory, the direction that we're going. We can't use a parachute to help slow us down because I forgot to put one on. So Bob's just going to have to bear with us. So it might be sensible to put out the landing gear, because with the landing gear out, then it means we'll have. Although looking at this, the landing gear doesn't go below the. The landing gear doesn't go below the rocket. So actually, the landing gear serves no purpose whatsoever, because this part of the rocket's still going to hit the ground first. Well, we learn. We learned things today. Got to think ahead. Shall we use one of these? Shall we see what the mystery goo does? Oh, it thinks it's very cold. And we got 9 science from it. Let's keep that. That sounds good. Now we're speeding up quite quickly, so I'm actually going to try and slow us down a bit. Yeah, we can see our speed going down. Hopefully we don't run out of fuel too quickly, because we want to land. Looks like we're going to land in these mountains over here. Because before, one of the first times, we landed quite far over there, one of the first times that we tried to come down, but that was where we hit the ground quite hard, I think. Right, we've still got a fair bit of fuel. I've got only a tiny bit of thrust on, but it's slowing us down steadily enough. In fact, if we zoom out, look, we can see our trail as we rocket through the atmosphere. Bob doesn't seem too worried. Our fuel is getting low, but our speed is also getting low too. We've got an altitude of about 7.5 kilometers left. I'm gonna turn off the. This could be bad. We really should have kept a parachute with us. We don't have much fuel left. This might be a bit of a disaster. Bob might have to go and spend some time in hospital. And we're out of fuel. This might hurt. Hold tight, Bob. Yeah. Bob had a spot of bother. And this mountainside looks quite nice. And we can see, apparently, the sea below it. There's some... What's that? Is that a rock? We could have found a rock. Oh, this could be the most fascinating rock in the world. We'll never know because Bob forgot to install a parachute on his rocket. Let's go back to the VAB and let's do some workings. These landing struts were not going to help us at all because they don't stick out far enough. So I'll take those off and put those away. And let's go to our parachute area. We've got one here. Should we overload with parachutes? Should I have loads of parachutes? How big are these? They look quite small. Are these big? Yeah, these look big enough. Yeah! Right, so all those parachutes are exactly where they need to go. Now, we ran out of fuel quite quickly on this, but that's because we were trying to use only the fuel to slow us down. So let's leave that as much as it is. I feel like we could have gone higher. And so that means, I think, it's probably a good idea to attach some of these big solid rocket boosters. And that will get us into space, well, at least very high, nice and easily. Now, what we want to do is when these solid rocket boosters finish with their fuel, we want to get rid of them. So we want to use something similar to the decoupler that we used to attach the top half of the rocket to the bottom half. And I think we can do these radial decouplers, so things that stand on the side of the circle rather than on the top or the bottom. So let's attach a couple of these. There's one on either side, and then we can attach the solid rocket boosters to that. Look, no harm. They look like they're sitting nice and comfortably on those. So then, when they're done, we can just get rid of those. Is there any way? Yes, we can add little nose cones to these as well, so that they're aerodynamically stable. Look at this. This is looking like a fantastic rocket. What we'll do is we'll make sure that all the rockets go off at the same time. No, I'll tell you what. We'll have the side rocket boosters go off first, and they'll get us up. We can't speed up or slow down with those. It's just one thrust all the way. But then in the next stage, we can see here in the bottom right, in stage 3, we've got the thrust and the decouplers at the same time. So when we hit space again, it will decouple these, and this middle engine will start. And then we've got the rest as they have been. So let's call this science rocket Mark II, rest in peace, Bob. And this time... Well, Bob's still there. Bob had his R&R already. He had his rest and recreation. Let's get him back on the pad. Right, long lingering silence of the loading screens. So what's your favourite game to play. Mine's Kerbal Space Program. Here we are. This looks like a very sensible rocket. I foresee no problems. We tried to go that way towards the mountains. I think this time we should make an effort to go north. Now, we still haven't used the winglets that give us better direction, so this could be a very interesting enigma. I'll turn up the throttle, I'll turn on the SAS, and we'll count down. 10 minutes until the double go. Ooh! Wow! Straight off. Look at that. Beautiful. Can we tilt over? No, we've got far too much. That we're even beginning to break the sound barrier already, and we're only halfway through our solid rocket fuel. This is gonna... We're adding a lot of vertical speed that we're gonna have to counteract on the way down. Thank goodness we brought all those parachutes. Shall we see what happens if we disconnect the rocket boosters before they're finished? Woo! Well, there's one. Well, we're going. That was fine. Now let's try and change the direction we're going in. Can we do that? I'm desperately trying to tilt the rocket over, but we don't really have anything to control it. Remind me next time we're doing this. Let's turn off the engine. We don't need to go much higher. What's our apparatus like? 55 meters. We're not too far away from space there. Let's try and turn over and point in the direction that we went last time. Yeah, we seem to be happy enough to do that. And let's see how that affects our trajectory. Yeah, our trajectory already looks like it's kind of shifting around. So now it's planned for us to crash into the sea, but I imagine now that we're aiming to move to the west over here to the left, that's gonna move and change as we go up. Yeah, see, look, it's squishing and narrowing as we go, and then it'll probably move in that direction towards the mountains, which sounds like fun. It looks like there's an island airfield over here on one of these islands, so I guess that must be there. There's an airfield down there, so we could try and fly there one day. Yeah, now our trajectory is now saying we're going to land on land somewhere, so let's try and tell you what, I'm going to cut our engines in just a second, and we'll kind of glide back in. Oh, we've still got loads of fuel left. Do you know what? Let's make ourselves go completely sideways, and we'll just get some lateral motion in there. So lateral means sideways, and it's lateral would be like this, and vertical would be like this, or you could say horizontal would be like this as well. Full throttle. We'll see what happens. Oh yeah, look at that. That's very radically changing our trajectory. Now we could land in the mountains. We're going to go past the mountains. I think this side is kind of the direction we would have come from if we were going at this speed, but it looks like we're definitely going this way. We've now reached the highest point that we're going to go, which would have been 64 meters. 64,000 kilometers. We got pretty close to space. And now we're going to touch down somewhere over near where we first crashed, which sounds sensible. Now let's get rid of the other half of that rocket. And we're now in this little rocket over here. In fact, what we should do is... Woo! No, too much. No, still too much. Well, at least we got away from that. Let's turn ourselves around, basically. My aim was for us to get away from that big lump of rocket and then point away from the direction that we're going. And so I imagine we're going to touch down somewhere over there. What we should do is deploy all of our chutes now, because that seemed to work last time. As in, the times we had the chutes, they were opened already as we came in, and as soon as there was enough air, they opened up. Let's do that same thing again. Let's observe the mystery goo, because that seemed to give us plenty of science. And we'll get to take some surface samples. Shall I take a barometer reading? That gives us loads of science too. Let's do that. Let's keep all of these, and then hopefully we can send them back when we land. Let's leave the thermometer, and we'll do that when we get to this nice sunny beach looking place on the other side of the continent. Oh, now we are going in very quickly. Let's slow ourselves down now, because we don't want to overheat and blow up like we did last time. I should be paying attention to my speed. We've got a fair bit of fuel, but we don't want to use it all up. I'm going to slow us down to about 600, I think. That sounds sensible, because we don't have much fuel by the means of landing. I imagine this will be easier to do in some kind of a plane, or a if we were to do it on another planet with lower gravity, because at the moment the planet's gravity is so high that it's really hard to get so fast going up that we have to have the same speed coming down almost. I don't know if these chutes deploy. Okay, yeah, they all seem to be deployed. So we'll wait until enough air collects those. I'll try and slow us down just a little bit without using up all of our fuel. Beginning to wonder if we still wanted those landing struts we got rid of. There's the moon. We're going to get to the moon one day. I think that's going to be one of our eventual goals. And now all the chutes come out and we start slowing down even more. This is good. We're ticking off our checklist of things we want to do. Oh, something just crashed. Do you know what that will have been? That will have been the other bit of rocket that we disconnected from. And now we've slowed right down, and we're going at 6 meters per second. We're barely even descending. Let's, in fact, this is a flawless mission. We only had one brief hiccup where Bob exploded on impact. Look, I've sped up time to 4 times the usual, and we're barely approaching the ground because these parachutes are so effective. We're only travelling at 5 meters a second. 5 meters a second. So we'll get close enough to the ground and I'll go back to normal time speed. In fact, let's slow ourselves down to 0 meters a second if we're able. And that... and then we're there. And we're on the ground. Fantastic. Out you come, Bob. I think this is the place to plant a flag. This is the furthest on land that we've ever managed to survive. Oh, and Bob's falling over. Bob's just having a lie down. That looks like a screenshot. Can we? I wonder if there's any way we can. Oh no, what do I? There must be a way to get rid of the UI. For now, I'll just take a screenshot like this. Up you get, Bob. So we took that sample. Did we take a barometric reading? We don't want to overwrite the previous one, but let's use our scientists to go around. We do have another can of goo, you see. The ship is very slowly sliding down the side of this hill. We only got 3 science from here. The goo, it says the goo seems to hate it. Apparently the goo is very scientifically knowledgeable. I'm gonna save that. We can't quite get to the thermometer that's on the underside. I wonder is there any way we can... Or maybe it was on the top. Come on, Bob. Oh, okay. Oh, it turns out I put 2 barometers on instead of 1 barometer and 1 thermometer. Oh well, look, we learned. Let's plant that flag. Shall we go to the top of the hill? No, let's do it here. So, Bob, let's take a surface sample because we can get 9 science out of that. Lots of sand and rocks, it says. It thinks we're in a desert. This is nice and green, but maybe it's one of those. Maybe it's like the Mongolian desert where you can still find brush and things. So let's keep that, and let's take an EVA report because we get some science from that, and let's plant a flag. So what should we say here? This will be the 3rd plague we've planted. This is the 3rd plague we've planted, and we're gonna call it Bob's first mission that he actually survived. If I can spell survived. Full stop. And the plaque will say somewhere else we landed too hard. In brackets, ouch. How's that? Okay, so there we go. Let's go back to the tracking station and finish those missions and see how much science we can get. So I'm thinking the next best thing we can do is try and get into space. The trick is to stay in space, and the way to do that is when you get into space is to get your ship into something called orbit. And orbit means you're going around the planet instead of going up and you're going to come back down again. And let's finish the rest of these missions. Let's recover all of that. Got loads of science from some of these. So, in order to get into space and stay in space, because when you go up, then the gravity's going to pull you straight back down. What you need to do is get into space and then you start moving sideways so fast that you kind of overshoot the planet before you can hit it, and so you end up going into a kind of a circle around the planet, and that's called orbit. And that's what a lot of the satellites and things do. It's what the moon does. The moon is in orbit going around the Earth, so it's moving sideways so fast that it's kind of going past the Earth, and so it's going in a nice circular orbit around the planet. So we'll try and do that. We've only been doing the stream for 35 minutes ish, so we can try and do that next. I think Bob's done well. I do think that it's time for Jebediah to get back in the space seat again. I liked these rocket boosters. They did well in kind of getting us up off the ground before we started using all of our other thrusts. Do you know what we haven't done? Let's go back and unlock some more things from our science menu, because I'd say we've got a fair bit of science now that we can use to research and unlock things. Yes, we've got 42 science. 42? Advanced rocketry. We can have a tiny little... Oh, do you know that would be useful, actually? With a tiny little engine, we can use it to land, and the landing struts will go down below the... We could do that. That's useful. Structures and things I don't think we need yet. We could unlock... This is useful. Aviation. So aviation is planes. We could unlock a load of things like wings. Let's do that next. I feel like we could do another science mission, see if we can get into orbit, and after that, we'll try and build a plane and do some aviation. Flight control. These look useful. Reaction wheels. Oh, this also looks good. Looks like there's lots of good things we can do. A load of science. And science is useful as well. It depends what we think we want to do. I say we get into orbit. But instead of sending a person up, because if you get into orbit, you've got to come back. And we've seen how difficult it is to come back without exploding. I say we build a satellite and send a satellite up into orbit. That sounds like something we should do. In which case, we could... Do we have any... Well, we don't have any solar panels or anything to keep the satellite in space. Let's unlock basic science. No. Let's do the landing thing. Yeah, let's do this. How much science does it need? 45. We've only got 42. We need to do more science, kids. Do I want to leave it? They're all 45. So we can't even unlock anything. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what then. We're going to go in space, see if we can get something close to orbit, and then try and come back down, which probably will involve lots of parachutes. That sounds like a plan. Now, we run out of energy quite quickly when we're up there. But I think we're going to need more fuel. Let's add some more fuel to these things. See, that looks fine. Let's also... There are a couple of other things we wanted to do. I'm trying to zoom in. Oh, do you know, look. We put it on the wrong side there, because there was a thermometer under there the whole time. We're learning. We're learning, kids. We haven't unlocked anything else to put on there. We've got plenty of these... do you know what? I wonder... Let's put a few of these on. Let's put on 4 parachutes. That's not overkill, is it? No, we want to keep our... Do you know who else hasn't had a go? I think we should put Valentina in. I think we should put Lady Valentina Kerbal up in space. She's going to be our next pilot. And so all that fuel should help us kind of course correct and get in and out of space, hopefully. And then we'll build ourselves a nice big rocket in order to get up there. These winglets weren't very useful. We're going to use some better ones. These ones were able to give us some more control, weren't they? And let's put some more fuel on there too. At the moment, I'm thinking more fuel is better, but fuel is heavy. And the trouble with getting into space is that you want to be as light as possible. So, is that about right? Does that look good? Shall we just use... Let's just use these boosters to get into space first. Do we want to add anything else? I kind of want to send somebody up there. We could use one of these little... I don't think anybody fits in these, you see. I think these are just... Oh, it's a re-entry module. I thought it was like a little remote controlled one, but maybe a person can go in it. Let's see. Oh. Oh, there is an empty seat. We could put someone else up there. Shall we send Bill up? Bill's not been for a flight either. Alright, up you go, Bill. And what can we do now? Can we... Why can't I grab that? Oh, it's because I'm not in the right mode. And we'll attach that to the top. Look, this is great. What else have we got that we can... We've got all our decouplers and things. What's this? A service bay protecting delicate instruments. I think we'll have to deal with that later. Heat resistance. So if we're coming back in, we don't get so hot. I tell you what, let's attach that to... Let's put a decoupler on. Let's attach that to the underside of this. No, look. This is going to be a little bit more finicky than I think I originally planned. Right, so we've got some goo modules. And I'm going to move our barometry thing up there. We're only going to have one of those. We'll put that there-ish. And we'll put all of our parachutes there. Is that off-center? No, that looks about on-center. And then... Look, it's going to be great. No way we can have any trouble coming back in. We won't be able to slow ourselves down because we won't have any engines, but we will have a heat shield, and I feel like the heat shield is important. Where did it go? No, that's tiny. We want that. I don't know what that radiator does. See? No problems. That looks like a rocket. So we've got Bill the engineer and Valentina the pilot heading up into space together. Slightly unorthodox. This is going to be the MK3. I don't think it should say rest in peace, Bob. This isn't really a science rocket either. It's a science orbit rocket. That might not explode. MK3. Sounds like a plan. Alright, let's just do our best. We'll just see what we can do. Long, awkward loading silence. Long, awkward loading silence. And we're here. And the rocket's finally starting to look like something that can stand up next to the flags and water towers. So, hopefully, we won't have any trouble. Bill down here seems happy. He is in his little re-entry pod. And then Valentina's down here in the main cockpit. I don't know how to get out of that now. What do I do? Oh, press C. Let's just go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. Oh, I forgot to turn on the SAS. Oh, we're already tilting and leaning out to one side. Can we steer ourselves back in the right direction? No. Whoa, no. We're going to flip out and we're going to explode. This was a terrible idea. And we can't turn them off. We're spinning. Okay, well, we're going this way. Look, we're going to the islands. No, we're not going. We're going to that island. No, we're now going over there. And we're about to... Well, we're about to run out of solid fuel. We could make it over to this... Right, new mission. We're going over to that island over there. if we don't explode first. Let's get rid of those. Okay, well, we are slowly but surely spinning out of control and plummeting towards the planet. Valentina and Bill, we may have a spot of... Let's, there. Oh no! Oh no! I accidentally shot them. I didn't know what that did. Let's go over there. There's Bill. And Valentina. Where's Valentina? I think Valentina just hit the ground. Oh, I just heard it happen. And Bill's about to hit the water as well. Could this... Oh, we've got... Well, Bill's fine. So it appears I made a small mistake. It turns out that this little reorbit module, the re-entry module should I say, detaches from everything else. And I didn't see that. And what it means is that when I press the button to decouple the kind of the two command pods at the top, they both decouple from each other as well, and only one of them had parachutes on. Valentina is currently lost at sea, but Bill's fine. We didn't learn any science. Bill is travelling very slowly back towards the sea. Let's speed this up a little bit, because that's going to take forever. Yeah, we're going down 330 metres, 20 metres. Gentle touchdown. And Bob seems to be okay. Should we get Bob out? EVA. Let go. Bob can go for a swim. Well, he seems okay, but I don't think he has realised what's happened to Valentina. We've got 3.2 science though, and actually that science will be useful. So Valentina's currently missing, is I think what we've learned here. Let's cover our faces in temporary mourning while we wait and find out how we can get Valentina back, because she's currently lost at sea somewhere. We just won't tell the other guys. They'll be like, "Hey, where's Valentina? How was the trip?" And be like, "Valentina, she needed a break. She's gone to Fiji. Valentina is now in Fiji." And we'll recover the rest of these, because I think we get stuff back. Valentina. The administration building is closed. That can't be good. Let's see what Kerbals we've got available. Valentina's very much not with them. She's in Fiji. No problems. Let's see what we did wrong. So it looks like this little thing has a decoupler attached to it. This little spherical pod. We don't want that to do. Let's be sensible. Let's take some of these. Let's not have two of these objects go into space. Let's get rid of that altogether, I think. That sounds like a much more sensible thing to do. And that will land fine. Now, the trouble was, we did spin out of control really easily when we were going up anyway. Let's add some of these boring winglets to the outside. That might be more stable. We can change it to that did not, the science orbit rocket that did not explode, or the science orbit that did not explode rocket. Well, it did not explode, but Valentina's gone somewhere. Secondary brackets, Fiji, question mark, close brackets, and then Mark 4. See? Very conventional. Now that looks like we should be able to control fairly well with that, and we might actually be able to go straight up into space. Let's do it. We've got some time left. I want to hit like an hour, and that means we've got like another 10 minutes. Let's see what happens. Save and launch. Who have we got? I forgot who we've put in the driver's seat for this particular one. I guess we're about to find out. The loading screens seem to be getting longer and more awkward. Jebediah. Oh, Jebediah's back. Well, Jebediah, either you're gonna get back in this launch seat a number of times, or you're gonna go and find out exactly where Valentina's gone. Let's go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. No, hang on. I'm just gonna separate it, decouple things in different ways. Is this right? I don't think that's right. I think that engine. I think this is what happened. I had the staging order on the left-hand side wrong, and so everything decoupled at the wrong times. Let's go. So 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, go. Boom. Look, we're going up. Let's turn on our SAS. We should do that at the beginning every time. Don't let me forget it. We don't seem to be going too off kilter, or off course, is what I was trying to say. We're going straight up. That's the plan. Valentina's on one of these islands. One of these is Fiji. Maybe that one's Fiji. Maybe we'll have to go and find it before long. Now we are getting very hot. We're going quickly. Quickly's not so bad. Now I'll... Ooh. Hey look, none of those explosions touched us. All I did was decouple the big fuel boosters. So we're going up. It looks like our apoapsis is at 80. That's well above space. Space is at about 70,000 meters, about here. So the apoapsis is much higher. So I think what we should do is when we get above 70, we point ourselves that way, point ourselves eastwards, and just see how far we can. In fact, let's do that now. We won't burn just yet, but we'll see how far we can get into space. See if we can stay up there. Ooh, slow us down. Point ourselves at the horizon. So what I'm doing is the blue bit on this nav ball at the bottom is where the sky would be, and then the brown bit is where the ground would be. And so if I point at the horizon or the difference between that, it means that we'll be pointing kind of more or less in the direction that we want to be going. What altitude are we at? Oh, we're above 70,000. We're at 69. We are at, and the music's turned on. We're at 70,000. Let's speed up. So look, we've kicked that in. Doesn't look like we're moving much, but that's because we've still got to pick up some speed. But what that's going to do is that is going to stretch out this trajectory. And when the when the trajectory is stretched out so much that that the curves of it, I'm pointing with my fingers, but you can't see. I'll use my mouse. When the curve of this gets so wide that it goes around the entire planet, that's technically in orbit. We're basically pushing out our trajectory so wide. I have a feeling it's also making the apoapsis go up, which I don't think is very efficient. So maybe I'll stop us, and then I'll make sure that we get closer to the apoapsis. So because we don't want to be using all of our fuel to make ourselves go higher when we could be using all of our fuel to make ourselves go lower. So what we'll do is we'll make ourselves go faster at the apoapsis, well, close enough, about now. Because then the apoapsis will be ahead of us. We'll still be chasing it, but it'll be constantly moving, as will the width of our orbit be moving. So what that means now is it looks like if we were to turn off the engines now, we'd splash down somewhere over here. But it's looking like there's some kind of landmass over here, and we're about to run out of fuel again. That's a problem. We're out of fuel. Well, let's decouple that. No problems there. We could try and gain more. We don't have enough fuel to get fully into orbit, I doubt. But we could use this engine anyway. Shoot away from that bit that's left over. We don't have much fuel left. Oh, we could do it, you know. This isn't a terrible idea. Look, we have our apoapsis, which is at 85,000 meters, but we've got something called the periapsis that's marked by that PE just there. And if that can get above 70,000 meters, which it has done, then we'll stay above the sky. I think we've done it, guys. Jebediah's delighted. And it looks like the lowest, so PE, the periapsis, basically is the lowest part of our orbit. the lowest altitude we can go at, because then anything past that means we'll start going up to the apoapsis again, which is 86,000 meters, and then we'll circle around and we'll go back down to the lowest one again. And both of those are above 70,000 meters, which is where the limit of the sky is, where the highest part of the sky is. So it means that we won't be touching air, which would slow us down and cause us to come back down to the planet. So we did it. We got into orbit. We got into orbit. That's great. Let's get Jebediah out. There you go, Jeb. Oh, he's delighted. Look at him. He's over the moon. Well, not quite literally. Where is the moon? The moon's over there. We're not there yet. He's over Kerbal at least. Let's not drift too far away from the rocket. So it looks like we're gonna keep floating around until we can until we decide to come back down, which can't be too difficult, I imagine. Oh, we're floating around. I don't think we can by ourselves, because it says it requires a scientist, and Jebediah's not a scientist. We can't operate any of the instruments by ourselves, but I think we can still do it from inside the rocket. So let's get back in, if we're able. And let's do it from out here. Observe the mystery goo. And we're in space. We've got 10 science already. Marvellous. And what else can we use? Do we have a temperature thing? We've got a barometer still. Let's log that pressure. There's no pressure in space. 12 science. We learned something. So, there's no air pressure in space. Because there's no air. So air can't be pushing down on you. Is there any temperature in space? Collect and record environment temperature. We didn't get any science from taking temperature while in space near Kerbal. Maybe that's because we already took temperature in space while near Kerbal. Well, we'll keep that anyway. Or maybe we'll use that and record it when we land again. That might be useful. I'm quite pleased with that. We got into orbit and we're staying up there, and the music sounds very triumphant. And we've still got half of our fuel tank left. We can use that to get back, I imagine. Do you know what we'll do? Let's fast forward time until we get to the lowest part of our orbit, the periapsis. The PE on this little orbit ring over here. And we'll see what happens to our altitude. So at the moment, are we back? Yeah, our periapsis is counting down. Oh, sorry, our periapsis, our altitude. And when we get to the actual periapsis itself, which is going to be really soon, we'll see that it should, as I wait for it, start counting back up again. Because, right, we've passed by the lowest point, and now we're going back up towards our high altitude of 86,717 meters. And so that'll start ticking up again, which means that we can't crash back into the planet. We're going so fast sideways that we're effectively flying past the planet. The planet's always trying to pull us in, but because we're going so far sideways, we're kind of always just going to keep spinning around it. And there's no air to slow us down, as we saw from the barometer reading. And Jebediah seems pretty chill. Oh, do you know what we didn't do? We didn't get him to do a report while in space. Let's do that now. EVA report, please. And we get 8 science from it. Let's save that. And let's get board. I don't think we should send him home just yet. I think we should leave Jebediah up there, in space, looking out of his window. Let's rotate the ship around. Oh wow, we just saw the moon setting, or we can see it now, setting below the horizon of the planet. This is the dark side of the planet in the top half of this window. The sun must be on the other side. And we just saw the moon setting beyond it. That's quite a moment. And then we can see the galaxy. That was really nice. Yeah, good old Jebediah. We'll leave him up there. And I think I think then we should get Jebediah back next time, learn some new things in science, and set a new goal for ourselves. I'm thinking we should try and build a plane and fly to other places on Kerbal. Maybe see if we can find Valentina. Who knows? We'll see where she is. But this has been a fun hour. I'm really enjoying playing Kerbal Space Program. If you want me to play anything else, I've done a little bit of Cooking Simulator as well. I did find out after I recorded my cooking simulator video that I forgot to turn back up the audio, so you can't hear anything. So I'm commenting about music and seagulls and things like that, and you can't hear any of it. But you know, there we go. That's life. Sometimes we make mistakes. We learn to pick ourselves back up, don't we? So I'm going to finish this now, and I bid you all a farewell. I'll see you all very soon. Adios. And we're outro.